Hello and welcome to another edition of Lab Matters, a webcast from Kaspersky Lab. Today I have with me Mr. Vitaly Kamluk, Chief Security Expert at Kaspersky Lab, based in Belarus. And we're going to talk today about ransomware. Vitaly, if you can start quickly by just explaining what exactly is ransomware for the end user out there who has never heard this term before. Can you just briefly explain what ransomware is?
Yeah, absolutely. Ransomware is a type of malware that locks computer system or holds the user's data by encoding it and asking for a ransom, for money to pay in order to recover the state of the system or decrypt the data back.
Right, so in the theory is your computer gets infected with this piece of malware. The malware encrypts data or parts of your machine and demands a ransom for either retrieving the data or for some reopening access to the laptop.
That's
Is
right.
that the theory?
That's right. It's one type of the ransomware. Another type locks the whole system. It doesn't modify your data, but instead it modifies system policies, system user interface. It adds some features that actually make it harder to work with the system or make it totally impossible to work.
How widespread is the threat? Is it localized to a certain part of the world? Are we seeing it distributed around the world? I mean, in the grand scale, how big a threat it is?
Well, it started from Russian Federation. It was very common here, starting from 2004 when we received the first series of samples of ransomware. But in 2008, it crossed the borders and entered Western Europe, first of all, and then also appeared in America and other countries.
What are some of the countries in Western Europe you've actually seen?
We have seen victims. Now we see victims from all over the world, actually. So from Germany, from England, from even smaller countries like Czech Republic and others.
Has there been ransomware examples on mobile devices as well, or is this limited to Windows desktops?
In 2008, we have seen something similar to ransomware, which turned out to be fake, but it behaved very, very similar to the computer ransomware. It actually displayed a message to the user saying that if you are not going to pay, it was, if I'm not mistaken, 20 yuan, that's a Chinese currency. If you are not going to pay, all your files will be encoded and the system will not work. But it was a fake message and the malware didn't work properly.
Has it been easy or has it been very difficult to crack these encryption schemes being used? Talk a little bit about the encryption being used, some of the advances in the encryption we've seen from the earliest variants up to where we are now, and talk a little bit about some of the defense mechanisms that have gone into it from your own research. How easy or how difficult it has been to crack this?
Yeah, that's a good point, because actually encrypting ransomware is the most dangerous, because modifying system policies is revertible. But when the files are encoded and sometimes a strong cryptographic algorithm is used, and it's very hard to get the original state of the files to decode them. And there were several types of encrypting ransomware. Some of the ransomware utilizes so-called symmetric crypto algorithms, which means that the same key or the same password that the malware uses for encrypting the files can be used for decrypting the files.
Right.
So our task is to analyze the malware and to find where the encryption key is hidden in the body of the malware. Once we found the key, we can analyze the algorithm that was used to encrypt the files and make a tool. Normally it is a free tool or a part of our antivirus basis of our main product to help our users to decode the files. But the second type is more difficult, which appeared in first time in 2006. It was the first serious encryption, which utilized a so-called asymmetric encryption algorithm, which means that the malware could encrypt the data with some key hard-coded in the body, but even if you have this key, you are not able to decrypt the files because you need a special key, the second part of the key called secret key, which only the malware author has, and only he can use this key to decrypt the files. So that made a big problem because our analysis of the malware couldn't help with decrypting the files.
Right.
And there was a challenge of finding some mistakes in implementation of the algorithms or weaknesses in the key generation. And we managed to win this battle several times, starting from 2006.
The implementation battle, just getting around weaknesses in the implementation,
exactly.
or actually cracking?
Well, our first variants used pretty small and tiny key lengths so that we could crack it by brute forcing.
Right.
And then we found the weaknesses in implementation of key generation algorithms so that we could crack the keys again. And the longest key we cracked was 660 bits for RSA algorithm. But in 2007,
we've seen advances.
We've seen advances, yes, and the longest key length so far was 1024 bits, which wasn't cracked and still hasn't been cracked.
What do you expect we'll be seeing down the road in a few months from now or a few years from now? How do you predict we'll see ransomware advancing?
Well, there is pretty scary forecasts, I would say, because we see that ransomware actually brings money to the bad guys just because a lot of users tend to contact the bad guy and to follow the instructions, to pay the money, and to try to get their data back.
And the fact that we're seeing new versions, it just shows that it's actually working.
Exactly.
It's actually an investment.
Exactly.
It's worth an investment.
Exactly. And the problem in this behavior is that this actually stimulates the users. Stimulates not only the users but also the ransomwares, the malware authors, to create more sophisticated and more widespread malware to catch more users with this.
So you expect we'll see a lot more of that, a lot more advanced,
right.
sophisticated
We already
versions.
see exponential increase of the malware samples we receive, and currently, monthly, we get about 10,000 of samples of ransomware.
So just let's end quickly with some advice for end users. How do I, as an end user, spot ransomware infection in progress when it happens? What am I seeing? What am I likely to see on the screen? And if I see that on my screen, what are some of the advice and tips you give the end users to help minimize the damage?
Well, the most common signs of infection of ransomware are the messages that appear on your screen as a change of your wallpaper or a pop-up windows on your screen, or just text files appearing here and there on
so
your
you see something that says your data has been encrypted. Any sort of text and any sort of warning message like that is the first sign.
Right, exactly. This is the first sign of infection of ransomware. Before that sign, you probably will not notice that you are being attacked, even if the malware works and encrypting your files actively. Well, ransomware actually differs in behavior. Some ransomware families, malicious families, are showing the pop-ups before encrypting all your files or locking your system. Some of them are doing that right after that process.
So there is a chance you can stop the encryption from happening once you see this message early enough.
Exactly.
What should I do?
Exactly. And a method to detect that is once you see the pop-up indicating that you have been infected with a ransomware, saying that something like, all your files have been encrypted and you cannot get your data back unless you pay money or something like that. Once you see that, please check the indicator of your hard drive on your computer and check whether it works actively or not. If the lamp is blinking, that means that there is some process is going on with your hard drive. And we have seen a sample, one of the most probably dangerous now, which wasn't cracked yet, a GP code sample. It actually popped up the message and started encrypting your files in the background. And that's why the lamp of your hard drive started blinking. And if you see that it's blinking and you see the pop-up message, if you press reset button, the malware will be just, it will disappear from the memory, it will not start after reboot, and probably the majority of your files will not be encrypted.
So one of the first things you should do is very quickly, press the reset button or maybe even unplug the machine from it.
But please be attentive with the HDD lamp. If it blinks, then reset. If it doesn't, that means all your files have been encrypted already, and probably it is wiser not to reset such machine, but keep it running just as is, because there might be some information left in your memory that could help specialists and experts to find the encryption key and probably help you with recovering your files and state of the system. So in the case of not blinking HDD lamp, once you see the message, don't reset your system and don't touch it, don't disconnect it from power.
Thank you very much, Vitaly. Very good information. And thank you for watching another edition of Lab Matters, a webcast from Kaspersky Lab.